You are listening to the 5 a.m. podcast, and today is your day. Welcome to another inspiring episode of the 5 a.m. podcast. I am your host, Michael Klassen. Today, I am thrilled to bring to you Matthieu, an award-winning author of The 12 Universal Laws of Nature, founder and CEO of Polonia Landscape Architects, and the host of the Regenerative Design podcast, which I highly recommend. Matthieu's journey is as organic as are the gardens he creates. His story began on a family farm in Belgium, where just at 3 years old, he discovered the magic of transforming those tiny little seeds into vibrant life. After earning his Master's of Engineering in Landscape Architecture, Matthieu found himself trapped in a conventional career that did not align with his deeper purposes. So, taking a bold leap of faith, he left the office desk and the 9 to 5 behind to embark on a global adventure, exploring and working with some of the world's most breathtaking gardens and groundbreaking ecological projects. Now, this transformative journey shaped his vision for a more sustainable approach to landscape design, and today, Matthieu helps clients worldwide create low maintenance, biodiverse gardens, farms, and high value developments that work in harmony with nature. His innovative focus, capture, shine approach is challenging conventional thinking about green spaces, shifting the perception from maintenance burden to business asset, and proving that ecological design isn't just environmentally responsible, but it's economically smart. So, in this conversation, we'll explore how understanding and working with nature's principles can transform not only your gardens and landscapes, but also our businesses and lives. Now, a warm welcome to you as you listen, wherever that might be. I'm not sure if we have listeners in Belgium, but go a little bit to the east. And I know we have listeners in the Netherlands and, of course, across the border in the land of the Frisians. Welcome. Please share this with 3 of your friends. I know that many are going to enjoy this conversation. And I want to give a big thanks to those that have given us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast player. And of course, thanks to those that have ventured over to buymeacoffee.com/5am podcast and bought us a few of those delicious virtual cups of coffee this week and last. We do appreciate all levels of support. Matthieu, welcome to the 5 a.m. podcast.
Hey, Michael, wow, what a beautiful introduction. I've never heard someone say such a full rounded, perfect introduction. So I'm excited to be
Oh,
here.
well, thank you. It's very kind of you. I'm looking forward to this conversation. I love digging in the dirt and gardening, and certainly when there's not snow on the ground, and even when there is, we are outside, either anticipating or enjoying, or harvesting the what we would consider a bounty for our small home garden, and certainly a long history in my life of people with green thumbs that make just about anything grow. And so, thinking back to the younger life and decades, your journey also began on a family farm. Can you share that formative childhood memory that really sparked your lifelong connection with plants and nature?
Yeah, sure, Michael. So, like you said, it's actually my earliest memory that I have. It
Mm,
must have been around the age of 3
yeah.
that I grew up on a farm. So I saw my father sowing and doing the works on the farm. And every time in springtime, when we have prepared the land and the seeds are in the ground, me and my dad would walk to the middle of a field where seemingly nothing would grow, and he had a special knife. He pulls his knife open, and we start scratching the surface after a few weeks, as it had been put in the ground, and then we would see that the seeds start to sprout. And it's just like my dad's like, yes, the crop is growing. This is a good sign because the birds didn't take them. Everything is going well. And
Yes.
I was so fascinated by that. Like, how on earth is it possible that the tiny seeds put it in the soil, it can grow into a crop, or in some cases, a huge tree, like massive oak trees that you see on the countryside? They all came from a tiny seed, or not all, but most. So,
Yes.
yeah, I was just so astonished by that. And by the time I was 5 years old, I had made a decision. I was gonna grow my own food because on our family farm we
Mm,
have cattle and cash crops mostly. Now it's changing. We're doing a bunch of other things that we can also talk about. It's becoming a regenerative farm,
mm,
or we're in the regenerative journey. But then we didn't have that, and I told my parents. I came home from school because we had a really cool teacher where we learned about plants, and I said, I'm gonna start growing my own food. And they were busy with the farm, and my mom had her own business, so they were like, no, we don't have time. But I persisted, and I said, I really want to do this. Eventually they gave me like a small piece, and I started growing radishes, Michael. And
Okay.
for all your listeners that want to get into gardening and have no experience, start with radishes. It's the easiest thing to grow. You put a few seeds in the soil, and a
Yes.
few weeks later, 6 weeks usually, you can already harvest it and you can eat it. And that's what
Yes.
I did when I was 5 years old. It's probably one of the richest experiences that I've ever had in
Wow.
my life. Is like I harvested that radish, I showed it to my mother, and we said like we're gonna have a salad from the radishes that uh,
Oh,
I
nice.
had grown. And this
Yes.
is like I can tell you, when you've done it once, it's very rewarding. So I did that, and I thought like it's so easy to garden, right? And this
Yes.
is a 5 year old. And then I asked my dad a bunch of more seeds, tomatoes, lettuce, and he gave me, because he saw like he's really serious about it. Uh,
Yes.
and I prepared my soil, I put the compost, and I seeded, and I thought like, oh, I'm gonna come back in a few weeks, and it will be full of my produce.
Yeah.
But you can already know what happens, Michael. You're
Hmm.
already smiling because you're
Yes.
you're a seasoned gardener. It was My garden was overgrown by weeds that were taller than myself, because we had put quite a lot of compost in it, I think.
Ah,
And I was
yes.
devastated. I was like, why did this happen? Why is nature not giving me what I want?
Yeah.
And now I understand, or probably a decade later, or 2 decades later, I started to understand why, because I wasn't working with nature. So, and that's what most people do. We're like preparing the soil, we do what's conventionally accepted, and
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden our whole garden is full of weeds. And it doesn't have to be like that, because
Hmm.
later on in my life I did a bachelor degree in garden design. Then I was like, I'm not just going to be a garden designer. I did a master degree in Munich for bigger landscape projects, and I learned a lot. And then I got into the 9 to 5 thing in Germany after graduating. I was like, wow, this is it. I've got life figured out. I had landed my first job. I had bought, like, I still remember I had my suitcase. I
Oh,
prepared
yes.
my sandwiches, and I thought like, wow, I'm on top of the world. Life is great. I have a job in landscape architecture, the passion that I pursued.
Mm.
6 months in the job, I'm like depressed. I'm like constantly working on bureaucratic paperworks and permits. And still, I learned a lot from that experience in Germany, because they're like one of the top countries in the world when it comes down to construction, and they're
Hmm.
really good in engineering. This is like engineer level work. So I did learn a lot, and I enjoyed parts of it, but I was like, this is not for me. I look at my colleagues; they've been sitting in that desk for 20 years. Like I got scared. Like I don't want to do that. So,
Yes.
but I didn't know what I could do, because I was still young. So I said, you know what, I had some money saved up, and I quit my job, and I went on a quest around the world. I traveled the world. I love traveling, to visit projects that are economically interesting, that are doing a good thing for the environment, and that are beautiful. So I visited a lot of eco resorts. I volunteered on farms. I did a ton of other workshops around permaculture, regenerative farming.
Mm-hmm.
I connected with many people in the space, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then I also had a freelance job still to sustain my traveling. And I
Mm.
had just decided like this is the lifestyle. I love it. I'm surfing. I love surfing. I had my computer. I was like a digital nomad.
Yeah.
Uh, and decided I'm going to keep doing this forever. But nature had a different plan for me, or God, whatever you want to believe
Yes.
in, or the universe. Because at that time, I went to the Amazon rainforest in Ecuador, which is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. Like if you ever get the chance to go, but try and go like with authentic guides, because there's a lot of scammers and not so authentic things are
Right.
happening. But I found an amazing guide, and for 3 days, I was in the depth of the Amazon rainforest, Michael. It's so beautiful. Like trees that are as high as high rise buildings, and
Mm.
so much wildlife. And I had a kind of epiphany moment. And I only connected the dots looking backwards, like Steve Jobs says,
Mm.
because I was like, we have to protect this. Like, this planet is so precious, we cannot risk anything
Yes.
to destroy this. And we're actually racing towards the destruction of a lot of ecosystems that can collapse because of how we've been using the planet. So, but then, Michael, like I said, nature had a different plan for me. I got
Yes.
a disease which is called dengue, which comes from a mosquito in the Amazon rainforest. And I
Wow.
became really sick. I was sick for 2 months. I lost 10 kilograms. I don't know how much that is in
Wow.
pounds, but that's like, and I'm already a quite skinny guy. So I was, and then my whole life went even more down. Like, my girlfriend dumped me. I lost all my money because I was traveling so much, and this was why, like, my wake up call. It was, and I can laugh about it now, but it was one of the toughest moments in my life. At the same time, the most profound and important moment, because at being at kind of rock bottom, I said, like, why am I here? What am I doing here? And I knew that I'm put on this planet to
Yeah.
help make sure that many generations can still live on this planet, because we can't keep doing what we're doing. Like, even today, there's so much craziness going on, wars and stuff, and
Hmm.
we're losing the focus on what we actually have to care about, which is the very thing that enables us to live on this planet, which is nature, trees,
Yes.
oxygen, clean water, all those things. We cannot lose that, Michael. It's so important.
Hmm.
So this was my wake up call. So, and then I figured out, okay, I want to have an impact and make sure that we can do this for many generations. Like, I always, and I sometimes need close enough to cry about it, but I think about my godchild. I don't have kids myself.
Hmm.
Like, we as a human race are in power to change the course of how nature is going.
Yeah.
And we cannot do that to our children and the children of our children. Like, we are literally at a very important moment in history. And so I decided I want to have that impact. And what I figured out was, like, okay, how can I do it? I look at, like, oh, NGOs. Well, if you look at the history of NGOs, they didn't change much. Like, a lot
Hmm.
of climate
Right.
action is just screaming loud and asking for governments to do something, but governments won't, because it's actually not their job to change how humans should behave. It
Yes.
doesn't work. So I went on and I figured business. Business is the one way to change the world. If you look at any change that happens over the course
Yes.
of history, it's the entrepreneurs, the businessmen, the very few people that are
Hmm.
crazy enough to start a business
Yes.
that changed the world. So that was like, this is it. I'm going to start my business. And that's where Polonia Landscape Architects was born. And I was like, okay, I'm going to make beautiful gardens
Yes.
because that's what people want. I'm going to make low maintenance gardens because that's what people want. And I'm going to do it in a way that is good for the environment.
Hmm.
Because most people think you can only do a beautiful garden and it's going to be either a lot of chemicals or a lot of
Yes.
maintenance, or you have to create something that is super ugly because it just looks like a wild,
Yes.
unmaintained garden. And I'm
Totally.
actually bringing everything home, in that sense that we
Mm.
can do it and it's totally possible. So I've got the
Yeah.
results, and from working with clients one on one, people started to, well, actually, I had one of my one on one clients. So I'm designing the garden. We get the contractors just like an architect. We work,
Yes.
and I had one client, Michael, who this will make you laugh, I think, because they said to me, like, we had done a big part of their garden. It was actually an estate. It's a big
Okay.
project. We remodeled a big part, and my client comes to me and says, like, I really love what you did. It's an amazing result, but you know what? I'm sick and tired of a landscape architect. I want to experience myself what it's like. I want to
Mm.
make my hands dirty. I want to. And I said to her, wow, thank you for being so honest. You know what I'll do? I'm gonna teach you everything that I know, and I'm gonna do it in a 9 week masterclass, because why not? I studied
Yes.
7 years and I learned a lot of good things, but a lot of bullshit. So I said, like, I'm gonna get straight to what is the important things to know. So I created a masterclass that is quite transformational, because you get all the knowledge that I've gathered pretty
Mm.
much over the course of my whole life,
Right.
and you can get the results. So that's what we're doing today. Now we're also getting asked to get involved in bigger development projects, because this really excites me. Like, if we can
Hmm.
build communities from scratch and create those high
Yes.
biodiversity spaces.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we can talk more about all of the
Oh,
things, but I
that's
think you
great.
can feel that quite excited about all this.
Thanks for watching the show. Just a reminder that you can get all of our resources, other episodes, and read our blog posts at 5ampodcast.com. Turn everyday teaching moments into a valuable lesson about long-term wealth preservation. Gold prices have historically risen during economic uncertainty. The time is now. Visit myinstantgold.com. Absolutely. And, the funny thing is my wife and I actually just picked out a bunch of radishes this morning out of our garden, and we're letting a bunch go to seed because now it's starting to get too warm. And so 4 weeks ago, because we staggered our planting, I would say 4 weeks ago, that was like the sweet spot for those radishes, they were buttery, creamy inside, that little texture. Now, because the heat's coming out, they're getting to be woody in the center, but and we're letting a bunch of them just go to seed because we want the flowers. So we overplanted so that we could get the flowers. We'll talk about the regenerative design. And so for our listeners who might be new to that term, what distinguishes that regenerative design from conventional or even this idea of sustainable landscape architecture?
Yeah, great question. So to break it down, when we have to look at what is conventional gardening and what is conventional farming, the whole way we've been doing gardening today, I would say more than 90% of how gardens are created is actually a product of the post wartime, where after the two world wars, a lot of the companies that were building bombs and even the chemicals that they used in the First World War to do chemical warfare, all of a sudden the wars are over, and those companies sit on all of these chemicals that they're like, oh. And then they found out that some of the products, if they put it on the land and spray it on the plants, they seem to be growing faster, and they seem to be just like nitrogen was used as a bomb, but they threw it on the plants, and plants start growing faster. So they have all these chemicals, and they tried it on plants, and it was actually like as if it was a miracle. And you have to understand, this is like after the Second World War, there was famines all across Europe. There wasn't enough food. So you have the problem of not enough food in the world, at least in Europe and probably other parts of the world. And all of a sudden we have all these chemicals that, they're sitting there, and we can actually use them to grow more food. Sounds like the perfect solution. And that's what happened in the 50s, what they call it the Green Revolution. That farming became super industrialized. They use all the chemicals. The first tractors were commonly used. And it was actually a genius solution to solve world hunger. And we can even say today that most of the world hunger is eradicated because of industrial agriculture.
Yeah.
But what we don't know, or what they didn't know, at least some people knew it, but not most people, that as we're using those chemicals, we're destroying the soil. And the soil is like the soil is like the skin of our planet. When we destroy the soil, the organism gets destroyed. So what they saw over the course, and this is like, okay, we're now 2025, sustainable means to sustain. So just keep doing what we're doing. Or even and so the whole paradigm of sustainability, which is not necessarily bad intention, but it's like, okay, we're just going to do things a little bit less harmful.
Yes, just a little less.
Yeah, that's where all these goals, where by 2030 we're going to have that much less carbon dioxide, all these promises that we're not even meeting, because it's just like, oh, let's do like it's as if you have huge crime rates and you say, oh, just going to reduce the crime rates by a little bit, by 20%. Well, you're not solving the core issue of the problem. So that's where the regenerative design comes in very handy, because we're using nature. Nature is so powerful. Like, that's what my book is all about. The 12 universal laws is like 12 universal laws of nature. It's like nature has been working in a certain way for millions and millions of years.
Yeah.
And the conventional system has been trying to work against it, and it worked for 50, 60, 70, 80, maybe 100 years.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work anymore. So why don't we work with nature instead? So how, now that sounds like, oh yeah, that's easy said than done. But how do you
Yes.
actually do that? Well, by doing that, we have to look into nature. First of all, we have to observe how does nature work. That's a big part of my book. And this is a quote that I often refer to from Einstein. Look deep into nature and you will understand everything better.
Mm.
So we if we look deep into nature, where do you see, like, also in gardens, people
Yeah.
are preparing their garden and they're removing all the plants and all the weeds, and they want to make everything look tidy and nice, just like we're cleaning up our house. We don't
Yes.
want the dirt in our house, so we
Right.
think we have to do the same thing with the soil. So the soil most of the year is bare. So
Yeah.
most people think, and this is a conventional system, like, oh, you clean the garden, and but when you clean the soil so much and the soil is bare, this is like your skin that's being open and it's exposed to the sun. So all
Hmm.
of the microorganisms die when you do that. And another important thing, Michael, is that when we look deep into nature, in nature you'll never find bare soil, or very rarely. It will
Right.
only happen after a landslide or a wildfire, and even when a wildfire, there's still some residues. So it's
Yes.
already like very uncommon. So why are we doing that? Like,
Yes.
it doesn't happen in nature. And the next thing, Michael, is when nature is so genius that nature has created a system, and this I didn't invent it. It's been going on for millions of
Hmm.
years. That when you do have a landslide or something, nature will always be trying to restore itself, to regenerate itself.
Yes. Yes.
And the way it does that, Michael, this is the beauty of it. It's using weeds to do that.
Hmm.
So we're like constantly fighting weeds, but it's actually nature trying to restore itself.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that? You could correct me if I'm wrong, and we'll get into the maintenance part in a moment. But I want to ask you
Mhm.
about the weeds.
Yes.
Oftentimes, if we have really hard soil, it's like nature creation sends up the weeds that is needed for the soil at that moment. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's exactly right, Michael. You're already very knowledgeable about this. That's exactly the truth, because I say this, maybe every being on the planet has a purpose. Even weeds, we think like, oh, weeds, they're
Yes.
so annoying, and but everything comes for a reason. Same with
Yeah.
weeds. And weeds are, and this is what I teach also in my masterclass. I tell people you have to start observing the weeds that you have in your garden, because
Yes.
if you keep just plugging them out, there will just keep coming back, because this is the
Yes.
same thing with like trying to do it a little bit less bad. We're
Yeah.
removing it. Oh, I think the problem is solved. Well, yeah, it's solved, but only for the next week or two, because it'll just keep coming back. So those weeds, just to give like a practical example, if we look at dandelions, for example,
Yes.
dandelions, beautiful flower, but if you have them in your garden, it can be quite a bit of a struggle to get rid of them. But
Hmm.
if we look at what is the plant, so what is the plant actually trying to tell to us? Well, we know the science has shown that dandelions come in soils that are compacted and that lack certain minerals.
Hmm.
And oftentimes there's also too much nitrogen, so it kind of goes
Ah, yeah.
in
Okay.
that direction. And where do you see a lot of dandelions? In lawns that have been compacted with machines. They
Hmm.
drive over it. We spray nitrogen,
Yep.
and there's a lot of, like, it's a very unnatural system. So dandelions are coming to decompact the soil, because if you look at the root system of dandelions, it's a
Yes.
very strong root system. They call it dandelion. If you look at the name, it's the tooth
Hmm.
of the lion.
Yes.
So it's a very strong plant if you think of the tooth of a lion. And that's
Hmm.
what the plant does. And it has that deep root system, and it will decompact the soil. So it's actually doing you a favor. So now you can, knowing this, there's two things you can do. You can just let nature do its course, and it will decompact the soil naturally. And then the problem will disappear naturally. But this is
Yes.
quite timely. It can take several years depending on how compacted the soil is. So
Hmm.
now we know that. So why don't we give nature a hand in speeding up that process? So the way we
Yes.
can do that is by using the right tools. Like, in our masterclass, we have one tool that I swear by is the most important, is the garden fork. So you use
Ah,
that
yes.
to put that into the soil, and you're decompacting the soil. You're not turning around the soil, Because if you will turn around the soil, which is also a common practice, tilling the soil,
Right.
we think that tillage has been around for 2,000 years. It's the beginning of farming. And it is true, but it's not necessarily because we've been doing that for 2,000 years that it's the right thing to do today. Like slavery was normal
Yes.
as well. So why it's like, uh, and I'm not like saying we should completely eradicate tillage in farming. There's still moments you have to do tillage, but just
Hmm.
know when you do tillage and saying know when you turn around the soil in your garden, you're gonna have a lot of weeds. So
Yes.
that's in a nutshell, like every weed that comes in your garden, and we do that with an AI system as well. We scan the weeds, it'll tell you what's wrong with the soil, and then you can actually
Wow.
elaborate and improve the soil based on what weeds are appearing in your
Right.
garden. And then when the job is done, when the problem has been solved, no more weeds in your garden because
Right.
you have the plants that you want to grow.
Yes. Oh, that's really good. So before we go any further, I've got to ask, how can people get in touch with you?
Yes. So you can find me on most social media platforms. I'm active on LinkedIn, where I'm mostly promoting business owners to use the green spaces of their company, even industrial, to do something unique and different and actually contribute to a lot of things. Like there's a lot of research showing now that uh, people, if you create a unique space in your work environment, people are actually going to stay longer in the company. So if they have gardens around them,
Really?
and
Wow.
it will actually attract new talent, because I don't know how it is in no, it's the same in the US. I think in Europe there's something coming called the war on talent. There's too
Ah.
much jobs and too little people, and a lot of people are getting into retirement. So
Hmm.
the companies are fighting amongst each other to attract people to work
Yes.
for them. And one way to do that is like you have to have a beautiful environment. So people are like,
Hmm.
they like to come to the work because they feel better if there's like signs showing if you're surrounded by green, it affects, so productivity goes up. So on LinkedIn I'm more talking about the business and also, or the business for business owners, what it does,
Hmm.
and also
Yeah.
about development projects we're doing. So that's LinkedIn. Then Instagram is more like DIY garden hacks and tips and tricks. And
Yeah.
then Facebook is a bit of a mix of my company and like Polonia Designs.
Right.
And yeah, that's mostly it.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Lots of places to find some great resources from you for sure. So let's get into the maintenance side of things. A lot of people, maybe they want to go to the lake for the summer, and I know my wife and I have talked in the past. We can't go anywhere in the summer. We have a garden to look after, and our flowers and spaces. And I don't know. We probably have at least 12 rose bushes of different kinds of roses just in our little property. And sometimes I tell my wife, we have too much grass. We need more garden space. And she's like, well, who's
Yeah.
going to look after that part? And
Yes.
we've got our hands full already. But can you talk about how people will associate those beautiful gardens that they see with high maintenance? How do you create spaces that have that aesthetically pleasing look, but yet minimal upkeep requirements?
hmm Yeah, Michael, I have to say this is a really, really good and important question, because the very thing that stops you and you think like you become a slave of your garden or your
Hmm.
property,
Yeah.
that's often what also stops people from actually starting, because they think like, oh, I don't have time, I can't do it. So yeah, and it's so much fun to talk about it, because most of my
Yes.
colleagues, they don't dare to talk about it. Also about the weeds, I joke
Mm.
about it. It's like it's as if you're saying Voldemort. You know, you're not allowed to say Voldemort
Yeah.
too often.
Right. Yeah.
So I dare to talk about it because I know what the solutions are, and I want to spread it to as many people as possible.
Hmm.
So talking about maintenance now, how can you reduce the maintenance? Well, what gives you the most amount of maintenance? It's mostly pulling out the weeds, right? Or what do
Hmm.
you find for yourself is like the most work?
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, cleaning up the leaves because we have a lot of trees too, and so
Yeah.
even in the springtime, I'm still cleaning up leaves that were covered by snow. So we have some weeds, but we've got a huge amount of ground cover, and so a big
Mhm.
thing that we do is cutting back the ground cover so that it does, because it's just going to invade right up to the house one day. I know it, but yeah, of course those weeds would be a thing, but but definitely the pruning and the ground cover that we have. That's kind of the two big tasks that we see.
Yeah. So I think the most important thing is when you design your garden or redesign it, is that you pick the right plants and that you understand what plants are high in maintenance, what are lower, and what where can you find the right balance that works for you. So like just to give you an example, I had a client that reached out to me. Her garden was completely overgrown by weeds, even an invasive weed that we have in Europe, which is the Dutch name, if I translate it literally, and it gives you an indication of how bad it is. It's called gardener's sorrow. So that's
That's
the
perfect.
let's say the name of the common name of the plant, and so that the garden was infested by that, and she was like, "Oh, I can't handle this," and grass everywhere, and she's running a big business, and she actually had just broken her foot, so she was like, "I cannot do this anymore."
Hmm.
So we sit around the table, and that's what I always do. Is like I ask people, "What do you want? What do you want to create? Like, what do you love?"
Yeah.
Like without thinking of maintenance or anything. So she told me, this is funny. She told me like, I want flowers, berries. I want pollinators. I want to attract bees. I want flowers. I already said flowers. I want butterflies. I want edible plants, berries. Like I want everything, pretty much. I was like in the meeting writing all the things down. She was like, "Oh shit, this list is
Yeah.
getting longer and longer." And then she finished and she said, "And you know what? I don't want any maintenance because I have a busy job." And I was like, "Okay, interesting." And she's an amazing client. I love her. But I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna take on the challenge. I'm gonna do as much as I can to make the garden as low maintenance as possible. At the same time, we're gonna target everything that you want. Like her, she also wanted a lot of herbs. And so
Mm.
we applied the knowledge, which was like first thing we did is we prepared the soil well. So if you can start from scratch, or even if you're doing to save the things, is like decompacting the soil. Most of the soils in gardens are compacted, so plants don't function well if they can't get deep rooted.
Yes.
So
Right.
decompacting is a big thing. Then second, because we have all the chemicals and we use all these things, is that the microbiology of the gardens are disturbed. So there's not enough microorganisms. So
Mm-hmm.
and even if you haven't been using chemicals, which I doubt, because if you own a house, maybe the last owner
Yes.
has used chemicals, or you have maintenance companies, they come in, they spray all sorts of things that you don't need. So
Yep.
it's very, and even if you didn't do that, then we still have pollution of the environment.
Right.
When it rains, it also comes down. So that's like the bad news. But the way we then restore that is by actively adding high quality compost. And you can't use any compost because most of the compost, and some garden centers are going to hate me for this, but I don't care because it's bad. And it has to be said, most of the compost is actually not good for your garden. It's
Huh.
like, it's just, and even in the US, they're now allowed to add chemicals in it to make it look different. They
Oh, is that
spray
right?
it,
Wow.
they color it, so it's darker. So most of those composts are not good. They're not necessarily all, I would say some are organic and they're not necessarily bad for your garden, but they're just going to be like some nutrients, but not what we really need is the microbiology that has to be
Yep.
activated. Because what microbiology does when it's activated is just the same thing as our gut health. So science has even
Mm.
shown now that most of the modern diseases we have is related to our gut health, because we eat all this chemical crap and then we get sick and our microbiome is destroyed. So that
Yeah.
doesn't work. And as it turns out, it's exactly the same in the soil. So, and how can we do it for ourselves? We drink these, what do you call them? There's like drinks that you can reactivate your microbiome.
Oh, yes.
Uh,
That probiotic stuff.
Probiotics things. Well, the probiotic that we drink, the probiotic for the soil, is compost. And actually, funny enough, when you work in the soil on high quality compost, your skin is also going to absorb those
Mm.
microorganisms, and they're beneficial for your own
Is
digestive
that right?
system.
Wow.
So
Okay.
that's why gardeners are usually healthier, uh, and 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 so this is the second thing like that I would fix. in any garden, and we're applying it, and we're getting the compost from regenerative farmers. That's like what my brother is doing, and I've helped my brother to transform the farm,
Wow.
and we're working with a brilliant organic farmer from Belgium to source the high quality compost. And so we put that in place. So you're reactivating the soil, and then we make the right choices about what plants do you want. You obviously have to like also do an analysis. Where is the sun coming? Where is shade? What is the
Mm-hmm.
soil type? What is this
Yeah.
is like a bit of research that you have to do. And then, but the beauty is actually that in my masterclass, I've created an AI system as well that we put all that data in, and then it spits out the list of plants that will grow easily and
Wow.
with low maintenance in your garden.
Neat.
So there's some science and some tech that we can use to make it easier. So, and then when you've planted, another huge thing is mulching. So after you've
Yes.
completed your planting, even for vegetable gardens, you have to keep the soil covered as much as possible. Because I told you at the beginning, in
Mm-hmm.
nature, it never happens
That's right.
that you see bare soil. So, but we still want to grow stuff. So we kind of have to disturb the soil. So if you do
Yeah.
disturb the soil, do it as short as possible. Don't let it like be exposed to
Mm-hmm.
sunlight for days, because then all the microorganisms die. So do what you have to do, put in your plants or seed, and then try and cover as much spaces that are unused. And eventually, like if you have a vegetable garden, it'll stick out and you can close it. So
Yes.
that makes it super easy. And on top of that, like when you said like I want to go to the lakes in summer,
Yes.
well, if you mulch, it also creates a kind of
That's
ice
true.
insulation, both for heat but also for humidity. So the
Mm-hmm.
humidity will stay much longer in the soil. It actually feeds the microorganisms as well. So you can go away on for 2 months. You come back and your whole garden is in a good state. So yeah, that's I think like some of the key
That's
things
great.
to do
Yeah.
to
That's a
reduce
lot
the
of
maintenance, and it's all based on how nature works.
right.
Because if you look into nature, there's no maintenance.
Mhm.
Like
That's right. Then there's no lawns. There's no
none.
lawns in
Well, you
nature.
do. You might have. It's not really lawns. The only things that maintain nature are grazing animals.
Yes.
So even
Right.
if you do maintain your garden, that's what I'm teaching as well. We have to like
Yeah.
start mimicking the grazing animals of how you maintain your garden.
Thanks for watching the show. Just a reminder that you can get all of our resources, other episodes, and read our blog posts at 5ampodcast.com. Gold prices have historically risen during economic uncertainty. The time is now. Visit mindstandgold.com today and secure your family's future with your first gold purchase. Your children's financial future is too important to delay. Start their golden future at mindstandgold.com. Yeah, and those grazing animals are so valuable. I wanted something else that I was watching one of the videos that you have up. I think it was on your Instagrams, and it was about that vinegar, biochar and vinegar. And can you
So,
describe that process of treating the seeds?
oh yeah, that's a great question. So maybe I'll take a step back and explain what biochar
Sure.
with vinegar is. Would that be
Yes.
helpful?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
biochar is pretty much so. What they found out is that when you take wood and you burn it at a very low temperature inside
Okay.
a closed environment, you're creating char or
Mm-hmm.
biochar in this case because you're using organic materials.
Yeah.
And if you look at that on a microscopic level, that has a lot of surface area. So a lot, like they see that
Mm-hmm.
millions of surfaces. So that is really good for nutrients to attach to. So if you add biochar to your soil, and then plants will add nutrients, or there are nutrients in the soil,
Mm-hmm.
or you add the compost, it'll be able to hold it much longer and better.
Right.
And also the microorganisms like to live in there, and there's like this like on a microscopic level. So that's how it works with biochar. But then they found out something other amazing is that from the biochar you also obviously have smoke coming out,
Yes.
and the smoke, if you can liquefy the smoke, which is through a process called pyrolysis,
Okay.
I think it's called. Not 100% sure, but you pretty much cool down the smoke with a double tube, and it has water running through.
Okay.
So when the smoke liquefies, they figured out that this is how nature works in so that they found out that this is called wood vinegar,
Yeah.
that it
Okay.
activates seed growth, and
Wow.
it gives a signal to plants to grow faster. And I've went to a farmer in Canada close to Toronto who explained me why, and he only realized it when, I think it was 2 years ago, there were big wildfires in Canada, and there
Mhm.
was big smokes crossing the farm, and we've seen some images of New York being like as if apocalyptic. It was full of
Yes.
smoke. Well,
Yes.
that smoke, when it started to rain, it came down on his farm, and he has a lot of forest. And he saw that when that rain came down, the smoke, the plants were growing way faster the next couple
Wow.
of weeks, and his
Wow.
crops would grow faster. So he started thinking like, oh, I should use that liquid. And it's actually because, again, in we have to mimic how nature works, and in nature, wildfires are actually normal. Like today,
Yes.
we have way too many. If you look at the world map, there's like far too many
Hmm.
wildfires, but it's still a natural process. So if we use that technology from nature, we can use the wood vinegar and spray it on our seeds, and it gives a signal to the seed like, oh, we just had a fire, it's time for us to grow.
Ah, okay.
So
Wow.
it kind of makes the germination of seeds way faster, which comes in super handy to do low maintenance gardening, because if you're seeding your seeds in your
Yeah.
vegetable garden,
Yeah.
oftentimes the weeds grow faster than the
Hmm.
crops that you want. But if you have cured the seeds with the wood vinegar, they will actually come up right away,
Wow.
and the results are crazy. Like yeah, on I think it was on YouTube or on Instagram,
Yeah.
I've posted that video from
Yeah.
the farmer in
Yeah. It
Canada.
was outstanding, the difference of
Yeah,
that. So then I want to ask you then, what keeps you optimistic about the possibilities for the future?
that's a good question. I think that we can beat the models of the pessimistic thinking that we
Hmm.
don't have time. We have limited time. But if you look at how robust and how fast nature can regenerate,
Yeah.
and if we make the right choices, we can solve things very fast. And this is when the
Yes.
paradigm shifts from, oh, let's do things a
Mhm.
little bit less bad, to no, no, no,
Yes.
let's actually do it way better, and use nature and help nature to speed
Right.
up the process. So like we can, because we can let
Hmm.
nature do it, take its course. If we don't change anything, we're gonna make it pretty much impossible for us to live on this planet, and then we're gonna go extinct, or we're gonna go to Mars, which will be horrible. I don't want to go
Yes.
to Mars.
No.
Uh,
No need to terraform there.
no. So, and then nature will always win. It'll restore itself. Like there's
Hmm.
been mass extinctions before. So,
Yeah.
but we're just not going to be able to live it anymore, or our many of our next generations are not going to be able to live that. So, I don't want to miss out the opportunity of having not done everything in my possibilities to 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 make sure we can keep living on this planet.
Right.
So, and this is what the listeners should understand: when you take a stance and start in your backyard, like you don't have to go protesting on the streets, oh,
Hmm.
climate change. That doesn't do anything. Governments are not going to do anything. You have to start right at your
Yes.
doorstep.
Yes.
Do the regenerative gardening and do the things that work, and your garden is actually going to create a carbon. It's going to become a carbon sink, so it's going
Hmm.
to draw in more carbon, and at the same time it's creating a biodiversity haven for nature, for other wildlife, that is also
Yeah.
beneficial for your garden. So this is where it all
Yes.
starts. And then what I'm so optimistic about is that I've been helping and coaching other people to do that. And then
Hmm.
the cool thing is there's an incredible ripple effect that can happen. It's like the butterfly effect. The wing of a
Yes.
butterfly can start a tornado. And so what I've noticed is that when I teach people how to do it, like one of my clients who followed my course, she had some of the designs that she made laying on her kitchen table, and she had some friends coming over. It's like, what is this? I'm doing this course, how to create gardens, and they're like, wow, the drawings look amazing, and then the garden was already taking shape. It's like, wow, can you do that for me? And like this is someone who's an HR manager, And now
Right.
she has a side business of designing gardens for other people because they
Wow.
asked them like, "Well, can you do this for me?" And this is what really excites me. Some people say that that I'm putting myself out of business because I'm creating more competition, but I don't believe that because I
Hmm.
believe in abundance. There's so much
Yes.
opportunities that the more people I can help to do the same what I do, the better world we're gonna create. So I'm very
That's right.
hopeful. And then
Yeah.
at the same time, we didn't talk much about it, but I believe that the big change can happen in farming because the farmland is the biggest land use in the world. So
Hmm.
if we can change farmers, and we're doing it already on our own farm, doing regenerative farming, then we can. So what the science says is if we get 50% of the farmers to do regenerative farming, within the next 7 years, we can go into pre-industrial revolution amounts of
Wow.
carbon dioxide in the atmosphere.
Wow.
So that means that equals climate change is over, or we've
Mm.
solved it. And most people are so pessimistic, like, oh, it's impossible, and we have to cut down all the emissions, and industries have to stop, and all this. We should stop flying, and I'm not saying we should stop doing that, but let's take more energy and actually how to sequester the carbon
Hmm.
dioxide today or in the next 7 years,
Yeah.
because
Actually,
that's
in the
what's really
plants
going to
that'll,
make the
yeah,
difference.
the plants will eat and digest all that CO2, and
Oh yeah,
nature only knows abundance.
exactly.
It's
So we
only
need
the
to tap
humans.
into that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Matthieu, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing your insight. It's been a delightful show.
Thank you, Michael, for having me. It's super cool, and I love your questions.
Oh, good. Thank you. Well, it's a favorite topic of mine for sure. Being able to talk about the outdoors and plants and
So why
gardening
don't
and
we start a campaign, Michael, to get people the 5 a.m. gardener club? So we get out at 5 a.m. As instead of going to the
yes,
gym, we start gardening.
yes, and getting into that sunshine, so you're getting that spectrum of sunlight into your eyes
Mhm.
at that particular time. That's wonderful. And I love that idea of the 5 a.m. gardening club. I
Yeah,
definitely that's a good
let's
idea.
talk
So,
about it offline.
yes. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, viewers, listeners, thank you so much for joining in on this conversation. We appreciate you being here. And of course, please help us grow the show. Give us a like and a subscribe and absolutely a share if you can find 3 friends that you can send this episode off to. I know it'll be engaging, profitable, and a blessing for so many people. And of course, one more thing, we do love those 5-star reviews on your favorite podcast player. So thanks for that. And I just want to say, remember to seize your days. Thank you for participating with us. Enjoy those sunrises and sunsets and all those adventures in between. I'm Michael Klassen. Thanks for watching the show. Just a reminder that you can get all of our resources, other episodes, and read our blog posts at 5ampodcast.com. Turn everyday teaching moments into a valuable lesson about long-term wealth preservation. Gold prices have historically risen during economic uncertainty. The time is now. Visit myinstantgold.com today and secure your family's future with your first gold purchase. Your children's financial future is too important to delay. Start their golden future at myinstantgold.com.